Somewhere in the ancient world, there was a building that contained everything humanity had ever learned: mathematics, medicine, astronomy, poetry, philosophy, botany, geography. If a ship arrived at the port of Alexandria carrying books, the Egyptian government confiscated the originals, had scribes copy them overnight, and returned only the copies. They kept the originals for themselves. At its peak, the Library of Alexandria held somewhere between 400,000 and 700,000 scrolls, depending on who you ask. And then it disappeared. For the last 2,000 years, everyone from historians to Hollywood has been pointing fingers. Julius Caesar burned it. Religious mobs burned it. Muslim invaders burned it. The truth is far stranger than any of those stories, because the Library of Alexandria was never destroyed in a single dramatic fire. It died the way most great things die, slowly, quietly, over centuries, while everyone was looking somewhere else. Let's go back to the beginning. In 331 BC, Alexander the Great founded Alexandria on the Egyptian coast. He wanted it to be the intellectual capital of the entire world. He died before he could build it, but his generals picked up where he left off. Ptolemy I turned the idea into a physical place, a massive research institution called the Mausoleum, with lecture halls, dining rooms, gardens, and the library itself at its center. Think of it as the world's first fully funded university, built on the Mediterranean coast, paid for by Egyptian pharaohs who wanted to collect not just wealth, but knowledge. Scholars from across the ancient world were invited to come, study, debate, and write for free. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the earth there. He was off by about 1%. Euclid wrote the most influential geometry textbook in history there. Archimedes may have visited. The library wasn't just storing knowledge, it was actively producing it. So who destroyed it? The first candidate people reach for is Julius Caesar. In 48 BC, Caesar was in Alexandria, fighting a civil war, and his forces set fire to enemy ships in the harbor. The fire spread to the docks, and according to some ancient sources, a warehouse full of scrolls near the harbor also caught fire. But here's the thing, that was almost certainly not the library itself. It was likely a storage depot for books being exported, not the main collection, and contemporary sources describe the library as still functioning decades after Caesar's fire. The second suspect is a bishop named Theophilus. In 391 AD, under orders from the Christian emperor, his followers attacked and dismantled the Serapeum, a temple complex in Alexandria that housed the library's secondary collection. But by 391, the main library had already been fading for over a century, starved of funding, ignored by Rome, its scholars gradually leaving for better supported institutions elsewhere. The third suspect is the most dramatic and the most false. The story goes that when Arab armies conquered Alexandria in 642 AD, the Caliph Omar ordered all the books burned, saying, and this is the famous quote, "If they agree with the Quran, they are unnecessary. If they disagree, they are heretical." That quote appears for the first time in a source written 500 years after the event. Historians almost universally reject it as a fabricated story, invented centuries later to discredit Arab rulers. By 642, there was almost certainly nothing left to burn. So what actually happened? The library died because empires changed priorities. When Rome absorbed Egypt in 30 BC, state funding for Alexandrian scholarship dried up. The Mausoleum, which had once hosted the greatest minds in the ancient world, slowly shrank. Scholars stopped being invited. Works stopped being copied. The building itself was likely destroyed or gutted during the Roman Emperor Aurelian's military campaign in 273 AD, when he leveled much of the royal district of Alexandria in a battle for the city. Not a dramatic fire, not a religious purge, a casualty of urban warfare in a city that had become less strategically important. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. We don't actually know what we lost. Some of what the library held survived because other copies existed elsewhere in the ancient world. We have Euclid. We have most of Archimedes. We have large portions of Greek drama and philosophy. But we know from references in surviving texts that there were hundreds of complete works we no longer have. Entire schools of thought, complete histories, scientific treatises. We know they existed. We have the titles. We do not have the books. The Library of Alexandria was not killed in a single act of destruction by a villain with a torch. It was abandoned, underfunded, damaged, looted a little at a time, and ultimately just left behind by a civilization that had moved on, which, if you think about it, is a much more unsettling way to lose something. If this kind of deep dive into the moments history glossed over is what you're here for, please give a like and subscribe to the channel. There are more stories on this channel that are going to hit the same way.